Assalamu alaikum dear audience. I hope you people would be doing great. Audience, in this video today I would be discussing about Edward Said's work, Orientalism. First of all, I would like to have an overall introduction of this, and then after that we would be discussing about the culture history and literary analysis in Orientalism. Orientalism was written by Edward Said, and it was published in 1978. And it was written in response to Western treatment of Middle East, and Said explains how the framework of Orientalism developed historically and it persists today. Sad's text remains relevant because Western relations with the Middle East continue to be marred and by enduring stereotypes imperialists West specifically uh, France, England, and the United States is not the real Orient. Rather, it is the constructed understanding of what the citizens believe the Orient to be. This fundamental misunderstanding is based on the centuries old descriptions and entrenched power and dynamic between the East and West. And the goal of these depictions was to facilitate imperialist action in the East, and Said argues that these early depictions underline modern relations with the Orient. And if we talk about the culture history and literary analysis in Orientalism, Orientalism is based on the analytical approach known as culture history, and that is within the field of culture anthropology, the study of modern human culture and interactions. And SAD uses the culture history approach generally uh, used to evaluate a group of people to show how Western Eastern relationships were constructed by the idea of Orientalism. Yeah, and in order to do so, SAD looks at the historical basis for the concept of for the concept, and he discusses the modern implications. SAD analyzes the historical context of the Orientalism to understand the contemporary anthropological definition of the term Orient and Orientalism. Okay, and by the time of Orientalism published in 1978, the term had been, for the most part, replaced with the more culturally specific term, such as Arabic, Islamic, and Jewish. And Sad's argument is thus that the term Orient and Orientalism or culture inappropriate because they refer to the period when these territories were under imperialist control. This thesis frames the entire text, and while the words Orient and Orientalism had fallen out of use, the dynamic they implied between the East and the West, with West having power over the East, West having the power over East continue to persist, and part of SAD's goal is to explain how uh, this initial power dynamic continue to persist and subjugate the East. Parts of Orientalism marked a major turning point in the conceptualization and the West relationship with the East in the post-colonial period that Sad describes. And thus, the work falls into what is known today as post-colonial anthropology, or anthropology dedicated to interrogating the traditional colonial viewpoint and empowering disenfranchised voices. And Said does so by showing how the traditional colonial viewpoint continued to affect the Middle East using historical examples grounded in literature. And the part of uniqueness of Sad's work is his use of explications to break apart portions of a literary text and examine the uses of specific words or phrases, and he discerns the implied meaning. And the technique requires an understanding of the underlying historic and literary context and the ability to accurately describe the literary devices which are being used in the work. And such as figurative language or point of view, Said uses the approach to support his argument that the framework of Orientalism was based on text sources and that these textual sources show continued history of colonial speech, stretching from the initial colonization uh, of the Orient to post-colonial world of the Middle East. And his methodology he aids in the understanding of the power dynamic between West and East over time. And the strength of his argument is grounded in Sad's background, literary criticism, and the study of how to interpret literature. So I think uh, it's enough for today's video, and see you in the next video. Thank you.